Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome back to another episode of Strange Brews. We took a long ass break because that's our style. But we're back. We're back, and we're better than ever. And with us here tonight
Hopefully.
is well, no, we're confident. We're confident.
Yeah.
With us here tonight is a friend of mine from my local play group, Aaron. Aaron, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, welcome.
So
Happy to be here.
Aaron was in two of my pods in the CDH tournament that I did the no reserve list Urza with. And I usually play with you on Fridays if you're
Mm.
not playing with someone else.
Yep.
So Aaron and I get in games fairly regularly. We had Sam Bradley on before, who was moved away, but was also like a big player in our community. So tonight, Aaron, we're going to be talking about your Elsha top deck, which
hmm
isn't a it's not quite a meta deck, but it's also not quite a strange brew. Do you want to kind of go over what you're trying to do with Elsha and what the deck's kind of game plan is?
I'd be happy to. Kind of first and foremost, I'm pretty sure as can be assumed even in casual play when you have an Elsha commander, it's the goal is Elsha top. Um, the idea is to get some sort of mana reducer out, be it a Helm of Awakening, a forgetting Cloud Key, or any sort of single cost mana reducer out, and then be able to play Sensei's top on top of it. And then with Elsha on the field, she allows you to cast from the top of your library. So from there, you can combo off, draw your whole library, and hopefully have a combo ready to end the table with.
Yeah, so Elsha's kind of been like one of those decks that's been like on the kind of outskirts of, though quite powerful. It's not been, it's not as much prominence as, like Nas decks. It's been a very powerful deck for a long time, but it's always been one of those ones that kind of, it just kind of is around. There's always
Yeah.
like someone who's playing an Elsha deck, but it's not like several people playing Elsha. But it's just like there's always the one guy who like brings the Elsha deck and dumpsters everybody.
We actually have two Elsha players at our shop.
Amazing. That's like
Doesn't Jake Addis also play Elsha sometimes?
He does.
Yeah.
I played with him last Friday, actually, just in two competitive games and then one casual one, but he did not rock Elsha just because I was, and he has several competitive, and I've only got the one. So I actually haven't gotten to see his deck play out.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on to talk about a brew sometime, Sean. We'll just keep getting instead of like getting actual guests. I'll just keep begging my friends at the LGS. Well, begging
anyone who
the
wants to
people at
come
the
on,
LGS because I don't have friends. So we kind of you kind of hinted at something there, Sean. That Elsha isn't, and I said it up top. It's not quite a meta deck. Like it's not widely played, but it's also not quite a strange brew just because of the power of the combo. And I have a theory as to why it's kind of sitting in that limbo. Is it gets fucked by any stack piece you play. Much like Food Chain, where it's kind of you can put down anything and either they just can't combo off or it makes it exceptionally difficult, which Aaron can attest to because he's had to play against both myself and my friend Basil, both rocking stacks at the same time.
It's rough.
Which Elsha has enough of trouble with like one stack, right? Like,
yeah, it's kind of like you throw something out there, be it a Dranith Magistrate or
Dranith is the worst for this deck.
Dranith is the worst for this and Gitrog. Like
it's really bad for a lot of decks.
You can still do things in Gitrog, I guess, and you do have ways like Dark Blast that you can kind of like assemble something, like assemble enough draw triggers to kind of remove it, but it's like, yeah. Any deck where your commander is required.
I would say a lot. So your analysis of that isn't wrong, and especially against my deck. I've built it to be kind of turbo breach, and I'm not very good at executing that.
Yo, come on.
But there's like with now I'm being part of the Elsha Discord is just these are things that I see, but the goal of them, there's three of them, is either turbo, mid-range control, or I'm trying to think of the third one.
Is there a stacks? Is there a stack
Yeah,
stack?
there is.
Ha! Cool. I'll build an Elsha deck then. I'm interested now.
Okay, they got. Oh, I guess they took that one. Okay, so the main two are just mid-range control and turbo breach. But yes, I have seen stacks Elsha built.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
I want to cast a
it's
Winter Orb with Flash. So I think the commander's significance to the deck is kind of obvious since the deck doesn't really function without the commander in play.
Mm.
I mean, there are other things you can do to get similar effects,
I would.
like Mystic Forge, but I feel like Elsha kind of does it best.
I would. The only reason I slightly disagree is just because Bergie's a thing. And
Oh, this
Bergie
is true.
serves as a secondary Elsha, but also as a mana reducer if you have Elsha out.
Yes, this is true. So, I mean, you're probably talking more about the backside then?
Yeah, the flip, the Horn of Happel, or
The
let's see what it is.
Harnfell, Horn of Bounty.
Arnfell. That's it.
4 in a
Yes, this
red.
card.
Discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library, and you may play those cards this turn.
Yep. Bergie's been the guy that I go off. His name is Flash Andrade, whose primer I follow. He's a huge advocate for Bergie and Harmful, just because of it. Literally, you can tutor for it. It's just a secondary Elsha and or reducer in your deck, and he sings its praises up and down.
Seems pretty dope. So while we're on the subject, are there any other specific cards you wanted to call out?
And like as a replacement for Elsha, or what?
No, just as we're talking about kind of just your specific card choices. Is there anything unique that your list runs that you wanted to draw attention to?
Hmm.
You're running Final Fortune.
Yeah, so Final Fortune goes into the Spellseeker loop. So Spellseeker is basically a single card combo into herself. So if I have 6 mana, I can get her out and then Final Fortune into my next turn, and with 7 mana, I can win the game. I got the combo here. Hang on, just gotta find it in my list.
He's got his research.
I do. So with 6 mana on the field, it's Spellseeker, tutor, and get Ephemerate. Ephemerate onto Spellseeker. Spellseeker then gets Final Fortune, cast Final Fortune. So there's your 6 mana. Next turn, Ephemerate bounce back. You get targeting Spellseeker again, and then before you draw, you tutor and light tutor. Casting that and putting Underworld Breach on top of your library all before your draw step. And then you can Underworld Breach, targeting escaping Ephemerate, targeting Spellseeker again, Brain Freeze, and Light Tutor out of your graveyard with Underworld Breach, getting LED, and then use your Brain Freeze combo.
And then you go from there.
Yeah,
that's right. That's really cool. I always like any kind of Spellseeker packages. There was a time when Spellseeker was kind of like underrated, but then it's slowly, in my opinion, but it's slowly over.
It was like a $5 rare for a long time because people didn't read it.
Yeah, well, I remember back when I first started playing CDH, there were people always like, "Oh, do I run Spellseeker? Do this?" It's cool to see more and more decks. Obviously there's Inala in this, and then I know people who play Omnath often play like Spellseeker Ephemerate combos, or sometimes do that.
Spellseeker is also just kind of a good value piece since 2 for an instant or sorcery is like exactly that sweet spot that like pretty much the majority of your deck falls under.
Right.
Yeah, it'll get you a lot of things. You can grab a good you can grab a Pact of Negation for a counter spell. You can get a 2. You can get Final Fortune. You can get Brain Freeze. You can get something. You can get like a
I was gonna say like a rolling earthquake, because that technically would be
Oh, yeah.
one, right? You know, if a kill spell, a field wipe, a psych rift if you need it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
cast
it's just
a
pretty
spell
versatile. Yeah.
seeker to go get dramatic reversal literally more than like I don't know. Probably the most common tutor that I've cast and the most common target for it, just because I've played Urza for so long now.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
gamble, I do cast a lot, but it always finds something.
Now, here's an interesting one, and I want to hear how successful this has been for you in the deck.
Okay.
Is long-term plans.
I was gonna ask about that one because I've
'Cause that
actually never
is
seen you
a
cast that.
very like that is a card that will draw some eyeballs when you cast that. Like, really, you're playing that card? So, so what is the how is it performed for you in here? Like, what's the how's it done?
I wish I had a greater sample size to pull from, but I think wholeheartedly I've cast it maybe 3 times, and I've only had it in the deck for 4 months.
Well, we're still
Uh,
gonna need an answer.
It's true. You
uh,
can't dodge the question.
Yeah, nice try,
hasn't-
Aaron.
it hasn't been bad. At one point, I used it to get a mana grip just for the value because I didn't have any lands in hand and needed something. And I got lucky enough to just have other shit on top of my deck that I could cast. So
Yeah.
I mean, in one exact example, it did me really well.
You
The other
don't have
one,
to reveal, which is actually pretty nice.
it is nice, but it obviously
So
puts a target on you to a bit. Like, okay, well, we've got 3 turns, so this guy
right,
either
but
wins or does something stupid.
you could just go long-term plans on an end step and then brainstorm into whatever you. Which
True.
you're not running brainstorm. I just noticed. Is there a reason for that?
Um, mm, I kind of get everywhere I need to be with being able to manipulate the top card of my library. If Elsha's out, it's already good, and at that point, I'm hoping I can have either a fetch land or something that already, like say, a land's on top of my library. I kind of prep myself to ready to have Elsha out, and most of the time, I like to have something in hand that'll allow me to shuffle, be it a tutor or anything else. And I enjoyed having extra interaction and counter spells than just being able to brainstorm and see the top couple cards, because I've already got so many other things that allow me to do that
Fair enough.
Fair
if
enough.
she's out.
What about Blood Moon with like just 3 basic islands? That seems interesting. Although the Bergie loop, you're able to still execute that through Blood Moon,
With
right?
Blood Moon out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Blood
that's actually
Moon,
pretty nice.
I like Blood Moon, just like I know it won't affect me, because if I'm ever in a spot that I'm ready to put it out, I guess. I know that my rocks will get me there, and all I need is the red mana to get the other rocks out that would get me the color that I need, as long as it's messing
Yeah.
over my opponents more than it does me. However, um, Basil actually is the one that keeps convincing me to keep it in there.
Yeah, now that I've looked at your list in full, I think you should keep it in there too. It's a hate piece that you can still combo through.
Yeah, and Basil keeps saying you don't like, and John as well. They're both like, you don't understand how bad this would mess, especially like John up, who does no basics. Now Basil really isn't affected by it because he often runs basics, but
Yeah, and I run
I,
islands.
yeah. So like there, I sometimes have a hard time seeing the value in it, because I think I'd rather have either some sort of another tutor, another piece of interaction, maybe even a stack rather than, or not a stack, 'cause it's just gonna some stack on stack. I'm trying to think of what my most recent trade-in was, and I was gonna take out Blood Moon, and Basil convinced me not to.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It seems like it'll ruin your opponents more than it will mess up you, and in the times when you aren't prepared to utilize it, you can always just hold in your hand.
And I also like the idea that since you're not playing like a dedicated stacks commander or like a pod type commander, a blood pod type commander, people aren't going to be expecting a blood moon from you.
Yeah,
So if
that's
you like,
fair.
they're going to play their non-basics against you, and then you're going to be able to just get them because you've been like, oh, I fetched for an island here, and now like I have colored mana and you don't. Like that, I love that in there. Now that like especially looking at all the mana rocks you're running, I really like that. I mean, I just love Blood Moon, so I'm
That's fair.
trying my best not to be too biased, but
My Discord profile is literally Blood Moon.
your face is Blood Moon.
My face is Blood Moon.
Your face is Blood Moon forever.
So I'm fighting an uphill battle in this conversation then.
Basically, it seems like you're just fighting it.
This is. We should just call this Stacks Brews because that's all we talk about on this.
That's not true. This isn't Stacks Deck.
Yeah, but all we're talking. We spent like 7 minutes on Blood Moon, incidentally throughout the episode. We have spent an hour and a half talking about Blood Moon.
We could so we could talk about Curse Totem, but that's also stacked. So
yeah, Curse Totem is we don't like that card. No,
I like Curse Totem.
That's a really bad Stacks card. You should
actually no. I don't like that one. No, never mind. No.
Yeah, which one were you thinking of? Which one were you thinking of?
No. I was thinking I did like it, and then I thought of it a little more, and I'm like, nah, don't play it. Actually,
no, I definitely like it. Because you go up against Najila or Urza or Rook. Nah, not Rook there because he just kind of hits you for shit. It kind of turns off everyone but me, and everyone is not happy with it, and then it's great.
Speaking of, you said turns off everyone but me. So if we could address real quick once again what we touched on, since we're getting into kind of the strengths and the weaknesses, you're weak to a lot.
I am. Anything that stops me from casting more than once, anywhere from outside of my hand, any additional cost, even like additional cost can eventually get through, but it is not hard to put
graveyard hate.
Stacks out.
That's also rough.
Yeah. Single target removal. That'll stop me.
Just kill Elsha.
Yeah. A big weakness for this is obviously stacks pieces because suddenly my top won't be free if something costs one more. I won't be able to go not even including Sensei's top, right? Any graveyard hate is just off with Underworld Breach as well, and then an oof that stops activation of artifacts or. What's the one that says you only cast one spell per turn? Like
Rule of Law.
Rule of Law, Arcane Laboratory, Deafening Silence.
All right, there's like 6 of them. You don't have to name them.
There are. Well, I mean, then that's not even counting like if like Draenith Magistrate we talked about. All these things that just once they stick, this deck is kind of it kind of flounders. I love playing with Aaron because he always keeps such good spirits as we kick his teeth in with like our stacks effects. He's always got a very like aw shucks attitude, and I really admire that because if I were in that position, I can't guarantee I would be the same. But
yeah, that's completely fair.
So
it's a lot of inside suffering.
Just bury it all down. Just bury it down and let me cast static
inside.
And never talk about it, and then we put on a smile.
So, since we have now throughout the episode thoroughly covered the weaknesses, what would you say are some of the strengths of this type of strategy?
What really drew me to this deck and Flash Andrade's Primer to begin with was the idea of a win conless deck. Obviously, when you see Elsha in casual or even some competitive decks, the easy win out is going to be your Lab Man or Thoracle. The whole approach to his Primer was to take out something that was considered the hard win con of the deck and instead offer several avenues that end with you winning the game. So he's got the Brain Freeze combo, we've got Beat Your Face with Elsha after storming off, and Burn the Table with Rolling Earthquake.
Oh god, I forgot she has prowess.
Yes. She can actually just hit you and win. As awesome. Like a last ditch effort.
I've been becoming a lot more a fan of and wanting to make more sort of like Voltron kind of decks.
I was gonna say
obviously inspired by the Hermit Druid.
The ... and then I hit you. decks
Yeah.
are like, I feel like they're really popular around our local meta, Aaron. Wouldn't you say?
I would agree. And I say this every time I run into a creature deck, because John does it in most of his decks, excluding Najila. You get in my experience of the competitive format, like everyone's ready to combo. Everyone's like, I'm just gonna make sure no one else wins, and then when I'm ready, I'm gonna do it. And not many people are ready for an 8/8 to smack them every turn, me included. Like
Hey,
I can't
hey,
stop that.
that sounds like a very specific call out against me.
Nonsense, nonsense. Rookthar kills me, remember?
Oh, this is true. Oh God, it really does.
It really does.
Um, no, but yeah, we were actually having a discussion, well, a rather loud discussion the other night about how Basil. I'm blaming Basil for playing like tons of hate bears decks and just incentivizing people to run creatures around our meta. And
Mhm.
now I've had negate cut for Mana Leak for like months in Urza because like negate doesn't do anything. Mana
Mhm.
Leak at least can counter like an Anafenza or something, but what is negate gonna do?
Not nothing when they're playing Najila or anything that just is creature based. You're just like,
So
well,
I like that. I feel like that is an attitude that maybe if you are in kind of a everybody is Turbo Nas. Do you know what beats Turbo Nas really, really well? Turning shit sideways and smacking them incidentally. So many
yeah.
CDH players tend to forget that they have creatures. Like, not gonna lie, if I'm in a pod with a Turbo Nas deck and I know it's a Nas deck and I have a mana dork that I'm like, I'm not gonna leave it up to bluff something if I don't have anything. I'm going to start pinging them when I can.
Mhm.
Like creatures, remember that your spell seeker also it has one power. It's not a lot, but it is one power.
Mhm.
Like you can attack with these things, and especially in decks with like recursion, like Underworld Breach, you kind of want them to die
Yeah.
so you can
Yeah,
cast them
true.
again. Um,
Now,
But sorry, just to continue on the reason why I thought this deck was strong is because with the biggest thing was I was playing against our favorite gentleman that goes to the store, who's might be JB.
yeah, we
Um,
don't have to. I'm not giving him any free press on my
no, no,
podcast.
no, no.
Our podcast,
It
Sean. Sorry, I got a little defensive there.
right, right when I said I was going to turn this deck into competitive, he put an intuition, or not an intuition. What's the one drop? Get rid of a card in someone's library.
Oh, jeez.
extract.
Extract.
What?
Uh, he turn one extracts me before like before I really dove into this
Was
win
it a food
contest.
chain? Food chain, because that's usually where you find extract in.
Oh my god.
I honestly think he threw it in just to
Yeah,
hate
I
me.
would. I kind of want to play
That's rude.
this in Urza just to get people.
That's rude.
What?
So
So
them
much of the
trying
time
to
they just
them trying to win is rude.
well that
Anyways, I'm not
that's
defending
yeah.
Mr. JB by any.
No,
Please don't misunderstand.
no, no, no. Extract was good, and it literally made it so I couldn't win that game because he got rid of my top, and I'm like, well, there goes my one combo. Um, and then I found this, and it was like, don't worry, they'll get rid of like 4 cards, and you can still find a way. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds nice. Like,
See, and that's what I like about Urza too, because the Urza is also kind of it. I mean, most builds are kind of win con less like this, where you assemble a win con from the components of your deck
mhm,
after you have all of your cards in your hand. But with the big advantage of win conless decks is, like you said, that you have multiple, like a myriad of avenues to finally like close out the game, and that they're very hard to like completely targeted removal like hate out of the game.
mhm,
The caveat that comes with that is it requires kind of a very intimate understanding of your deck, like how your cards work, how they all interact with one another, and you have to be able to kind of assemble a win on the fly. And I'll be honest, because on Fridays after we play the modern event, I'm kind of burnt out. So CDH is, believe it or not, what I play to relax. I put a lab man in there partially because it's my handle's namesake, and partially just because when it's that, I just want to cast it and cast a brainstorm and not think.
That's fair.
But I am a. That being said, I'm a big fan of win conless lists because of their kind of resilient nature.
And I completely agree, and that's exactly what made this sound fun to me.
So, kind of closing out here, was there anything you wanted to draw specific attention to, or anything you wanted to tell people that might encourage them to play this deck?
I'd say that if you're looking for something to, I mean, it might just be me being smooth brained, but I feel like this deck a lot of the times makes me think, and whether that translates into long turns or not. I feel like it's a wonderful way to express a whole bunch of different things going on and never feeling like you're really out of the game. And I think this deck allows me to do that because even if I am getting beat in the face and I'm down to 12 life, with like unless there's a Rorikthar or something like draining me when I cast something, I'm never out. I don't feel like I'm ever really out of the game, able to go off. So
That is what I
Yeah.
wanted to correct myself from earlier. Is that just because, like, when I was saying you usually spend our pods stacked out of the game, I just mean that you can't combo off with top. But you are always doing something when you're in our, like, when it gets to your turn, you always, like, I'll have turns in Urza where I just go land go because my hand's full of interaction or I don't have any cards in my hand, but this deck always has something to do.
And I like that because me personally, my playstyle, it's land pass. I don't enjoy. I like being able to, if I do have Elsha out, being able to peek at the top card and say, okay, I can plan for this. I can do this now, or just further my board state, even if it is only one card at a time. And I like that.
All right. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
for having me.
Do you
it was
have
a lot of fun.
any social medias you want to plug?
Yeah, that'd be great. Actually, I have a Twitch stream. It is the
Ooh.
Waffle Air Force.
Ooh, I'll be sure to link that in the description.
Okay, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Sean, where can people find you?
You can find me usually on Twitter at DeathSingerLee. That's usually where I do most of my social media interacting.
You can find the cast at SBS_cast on Twitter, where we are supposed to tweet updates, but we don't. But follow us anyways because we like to buff our follower count.
True, we get
There you go.
dopamine whenever you click the button.
Yeah. And you can follow me at 2intoblue on Twitter, where I seem to just be tweeting about things that I buy. Because I'm kind of.
Wait, did I miss this? What did you
Well,
buy?
I made a legacy list.
Oh,
It was me because I've been playing a lot of Traverse Jund in Modern, so I was trying to like, how can I best replicate this in Legacy with it also being a kind of competent deck, and it ended up being kind of this Green Suns monstrosity. But it also plays Punishing Fire and Grove in there because I want to play those cards in Modern and I'm not allowed to. So I'm going to play them in Legacy instead. And also Punishing Fire kills Ragavan really well. So I tweeted about that, which also people pick up those Zendikar expeditions, like the recent ones. They're like
they're so nice.
criminally cheap and they look gorgeous. They look like expeditions.
Oh, absolutely.
Which card is this again?
Grove of the Burn Willows.
I don't even know the name.
It combos with a card called Punishing Fire so that you can always have removal forever. And then I also tweeted about for the memes I bought a secret GP mat. It actually came in the mail today, and it's amazing. It's hilarious. I love it so much. But anyways, until next time, whenever that is, I'm Josh.
And I'm Sean.
And this has been another episode of Strange Brews.
Take care, everyone.
And don't die.